Today, we are going to be talking all about protein. Now, your body cannot exist without protein. Let's be totally clear about that. Everything from your nails to your hair to your skin to your internal organs, muscle tissue, all the way down to the collagen in your bones requires protein as the building blocks. That's what it's made out of. Your body is like 65 to 75% water. Once you take that water out, protein accounts for nearly half of your dry mass. So it's really important, obviously, for the structural integrity of your body. And I think most people are definitely aware of that. When I'm talking to people about protein in the nutrition sense, a lot of the pushback that I get from people who just generally don't like protein foods or protein-rich foods, or people who are accustomed to eating less protein, one of the main pieces of pushback I get is that, oh, well, I don't want to build muscle necessarily, so maybe I just want to lose fat. Why would I need more protein? I don't want to eat more protein. It's not what I'm down with. So I don't disagree that it can be difficult to make these changes. I myself am one of these people that is not a big fan of eating huge amounts of protein foods. But let me tell you a little bit more about protein, why it's important for your nutrition plan, even if all of your goals revolve around fat loss and you don't even care about building up muscle tissue or improving your general health. We're going to talk about the other reasons besides building muscle to eat protein. We often think of building muscle when we think of eating protein in the sense of nutrition and fitness and that kind of stuff. So there's lots of other good reasons. And yes, obviously building muscle is huge because that's all the proteins. But let's talk about some other things. Now, first you have to understand, of course, that protein is made up of essential amino acids. Essential amino acid is an amino acid that cannot be made from scratch by your body. Okay, you have to get it from food. You can't create it, you can't make it within yourself without getting it from food. Now, there are 21 amino acids, but not all of them are essential. Some of them we can synthesize. The ones we can't are this list here. And some of these I'm not going to try to even pronounce, but it's important to know what they look like, and we'll get to the reason why in a moment. So if you know what your essential amino acids, what the words look like, the 9 that we're looking for here in our foods, that's super important for, especially for people who maybe don't like the animal-based proteins and are looking to get a good balance of essential amino acids from plant food sources. Okay, if you are one of these people, here is the website I recommend. So it's very easy to get all 9 essential amino acids if you are eating meat, eggs, fish, poultry, any proteins from animal sources are going to have a full spectrum of amino acids. You really don't have to think about it that much if that is going to be your main food source for proteins. But if you're going to get most of your proteins from grains, nuts, legumes, maybe even trace amounts in other plants like peas and whatnot, I would definitely check out this particular nutrition data website. It's nutritiondata.self.com. It's a website that has not only your usual amounts of calories and protein, fat, carbohydrate in an item, they also have this nice little amino acid score on your various food groups. And this lets you know where certain foods might be less than ideal for a complete amino acid score. So in other words, if you are getting most of your protein from soybeans, for example, from tofu. Tofu is low in this one right here, the tryptophan. But peas are relatively high in tryptophan. So if you are looking to create a meal plan based off of vegetarian or vegan foods, then definitely check out this website and take a look at some of your favorite protein food sources to see if you can't make yourself a nice complete amino acid by using a variety of different grains, nuts, beans, legumes, etc. to get that done. All right, let's talk about the first main reason why I recommend getting enough protein. And we'll talk about what enough protein is a little bit later on in this presentation, but let's talk about peptide or protein hormones. So everybody knows that muscle is built out of protein, but what if we don't care about building muscle? What if we care about our hormones? What if we care about being hungry? What if we care about being full? What if we care about having our body function normally? Peptide hormones or protein hormones are hormones whose molecules are peptides or proteins. These hormones have an effect on the endocrine system, endocrine system. Let me indoctrinate you into this endocrine system of animals, including humans. Most humans can be classified as either amino acid-based hormones. Most hormones can be classified as either amino-based hormones or steroid hormones. So these are all, this giant list down here, these are all made from protein. Like all peptides and proteins, peptide hormones and protein hormones are synthesized in cells from amino acids. So in other words, they are made from amino acids. Amino acids, where do we get them? We get them from food, right? We don't eat the right food. We don't get enough stuff to make these hormones. These hormones, a lot of them, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what most of these do. All of my continuing education has been in stuff that's related directly to diet and nutrition stuff. So there's a lot on here. I highly recommend doing your own research and checking out all this great stuff that's in here. But we are going to just focus on a few today. We're going to talk about ghrelin and glucagon and insulin and leptin. But all of these are going to have an impact on your body. Really important. Now, not only do all of these protein hormones rely on protein, but also beyond that, neuropeptides. Okay, so neuropeptides used by neurons to communicate with each other. They are neuronal signaling molecules that influence every activity of the brain and body in specific ways. Different neuropeptides are involved in a wide range of brain functions, including analgesia, don't know what that means. Reward, food intake, I know what that means. Metabolism, yes. Reproduction, social behaviors, learning, and memory. Oh my gosh. Okay, so neuropeptides are neurotransmitter. These are also reliant on protein. So all of these hormones, plus your neuropeptides, you need protein for your brain and your body to work right, guys. Stop fighting me on this. You know who you are. Okay, but today we're going to talk about the 4 hormones that I do know something about. Okay, most of this stuff I don't know anything about. Neuropeptides I know very little about. Let's talk about these 4 hormones that really have a direct impact on fat loss, because that is what most people come to me for, is for the fat loss. And some of y'all don't care about that muscle building. So let's talk about insulin, glucagon, ghrelin, and leptin. So insulin, most people are familiar with insulin. We know that being diabetic is bad. We know that insulin is something that we can make in the body, or we can get it in an injection if we are diabetic. But insulin, what it does is it removes sugar from the blood, essentially. Okay, this is the really like pared down, easy to understand version on each of these ones, because honestly, most of y'all don't need to know the ins and outs of all the details, but basic understanding of what these hormones do, this is really important. So insulin takes the sugar out of the blood and puts it into storage where it can be used for energy. Okay, and when I say sugar, I don't mean it's just when you eat sugary foods. Yes, carbohydrates and high starch, high sugar foods will require more insulin to pull them out of the bloodstream, but you're going to get an insulin response from eating anything because we're going to have, your body's going to need to shuttle those nutrients after they're digested and in the bloodstream. Your body needs to shuttle those nutrients from the bloodstream into places where it can use it as energy. If the sugars, we'll just call them sugars for sake of ease right now, or the glucose or the glycogen, if that stays in the blood, what you're going to get is literally syrupy blood. Okay, so insulin has a very important job of taking it out of the blood. If we don't have insulin working right and we are diabetic, what that means is that our blood will actually become thick and syrupy, meaning that we don't get the circulation we need to certain parts of the body, which is why diabetics will lose feet, limbs, lose eyesight, because your body literally can't pump syrup blood through the thin little capillaries in the eyes, and it's difficult to get it down into the extremities like the feet and toes. So insulin has the very, very important job of removing that stuff from the bloodstream and putting it where it needs to be to actually be used as energy. So there's a few places in the body your insulin can help shuttle that energy to. And remember, we talked about calories as energy in the last video, whatever nutrition class we did. So you got insulin taking it out of the bloodstream. It can put it either in the muscle tissue. Muscle tissue has some storage capacity. The liver has some storage capacity, and any overflow that we don't use for that, for those functions, can go right into the fat cells, and the fat cells are used for storage capacity. So next time you get mad at your fat cells, boy, hey, it's better than having syrup blood, right? So that's a safe place for your body to store it as compared to your blood. So that's insulin's job. Take the energy out of the blood and put it where it needs to go. Okay, so insulin is one half of the equation. Glucagon is the other half. So glucagon is another hormone. While insulin is responsible for storing stuff, glucagon is responsible for unpacking stuff. You can remember glucagon because when the glucose is gone from the bloodstream, it triggers glucagon, and glucagon helps pull energy from storage when your blood sugar is low. So if you haven't eaten for a while, if you did have a really vigorous workout and need to refuel, this helps take the storage out of the fat cells and get it back to where it can be used as usable energy. So glucagon should be very interesting for those people out there who are listening who are interested in fat loss. Okay, so if you're interested in fat loss, you want your glucagon working at full speed, and glucagon is a peptide hormone, meaning you need those amino acids for glucagon to even exist, which means that you need to get your amino acids from your food and eat your dang protein. Okay, moving on. So insulin, glucagon, those are kind of yin and yang. Ghrelin and leptin are kind of yin and yang too. So ghrelin makes you feel hungry, okay? It helps stimulate appetite. And there's a lot of different things that can stimulate appetite and stimulate ghrelin. This can be anything from the sensation that your belly is full to seeing or smelling delicious foods. Gets you hungry when you need food. That's ghrelin. And then leptin makes you feel full. And leptin is a peptide hormone that's made actually in the fat cells. So your fat cells actually push out leptin so that your body will know, hey, we got stuff in storage. So the more fat you have, the more leptin you have. However, your leptin receptors, stupid ads are popping up on my screen. Your leptin receptors in the brain can go haywire. So this is why it's important to get all of that protein in, because we want to have insulin, glucagon, ghrelin, leptin all functioning and doing their job when they need to do, right? Getting the energy where it needs to go, acquiring the energy, using the stored energy, our body letting us know when we have stored energy, when we don't need to eat more. So the proper function of these 4 basic hormones that are good to know about for nutrition and diet stuff, along with all these others, and the neuropeptides that help learning, memory, all this stuff, food intake, metabolism, all reliant on protein. Okay, have I convinced you yet? I hope so, because now we're going to take it to some bro science. Okay, so there's a lot of debate out there about how much protein you actually need for all this stuff. There is a wide range. If you look up nutrition data, it will give you, certain percentages of a diet, all this kind of stuff. And I always default to bro science because it's, even though it's not been proven in the lab, it's been proven in the gym. If somebody who is exercising, who is putting their body through physical stress, can lose fat, gain muscle, and feel awesome with the recommendations that are there, then what we have is pretty much a proven system, a system that's been proven out over thousands and millions of people actually over the course of many decades at this point. So the general standing rule for any bro science person who is going to be like, okay, so a little etymology on the word bro science. In other words, if you go to a gym and you ask some big muscly dude, hey, what do I do? He will tell you based on what he knows and what his friends know, not necessarily something that there's been good comprehensive studies done. So while there have not been enough good comprehensive studies done on protein, nutritionally, nutrition science is relatively young science, all things considered. We're still discovering things. Some of these hormones, like ghrelin, was only discovered like what, 10, 15 years ago, something like that. So there's a lot we're still discovering. So that's going to be an ongoing process. But we know from observation for many people for whom their physical life is really important to them, they eat their body weight in grams of protein per day. That's the general recommendation. So in other words, if you weigh 150 pounds, you go for 150 grams of protein. Now, 150 pounds, 150 grams of protein, that sounds nice and simple. The area where it gets complicated, and I do a little bit of finagling in my arena because I work with a lot of people who are starting out very overweight and are looking for fat loss, we are going to use the BMI to calculate your base body weight. Okay, so in other words, if somebody weighs, if they're 5'3" and they weigh 300 pounds, we're not going to get them to eat 300 grams of protein per day. That's absurd. We're going to go to the BMI. We're going to take a look and say, okay, what would if they weren't overweight and they were in a healthy normal range according to the BMI, what is their body weight? Okay, we're going to use that for grams of protein per day. So the body mass index chart does have a lot of limitations. It is pretty accurate for sedentary people, very inaccurate for people who have been lifting weights for a long time, who have a lot of lean mass, but it's a good starting point for some of these nutrition things. So if you are wondering how many grams of protein do I actually need, my recommendation, and this is something that I've used over the course of 10 years, it works very consistently for the goals that people come to me with. Go to that body mass index chart, find your height, look over to the 21 to 23 on the BMI, sort of the healthy normal weight range, and that would be your grams of protein per day. That's the simple way to get it done. Now, things to keep in mind when you're looking at grams of protein. Now, if you're familiar with counting calories and using a tracking app like MyFitnessPal or something similar, you understand that grams of protein are not the actual weight of the protein itself. So in other words, there are about 7 grams of protein in 1 ounce of lean meat in general. 7 grams of protein in 1 ounce of lean meat. So let's see if I can do a little math here real quick for you. All right, so let's say we need 150 grams of protein, and let's say we were getting all of that protein from lean meat. We're going to divide that by 7. That means that I'm getting about 21 ounces of meat per day. 21 divided by 16. So 1 1/3 pounds of meat per day would get me there. So that's a very simple way to do it if you're getting all of your protein from meat. Now, if you're going to go the route of getting your protein from vegetables and from grains and nuts and legumes, again, highly recommend doing some counting and making sure you're getting a full, complete amino acid spectrum. All right, so is it worth it? Yeah, I think it's worth it, you know, to understand that you are getting the benefit from protein of all of these hormones plus your neurotransmitters, getting the body what it actually needs to function. Another thing that I get from folks on a more aesthetic level is when they start eating enough protein, they will notice things like, oh, their hair looks nicer, shinier, their nails look better, their skin looks better. Why? Because you need protein for all that stuff, right? So that is our protein lesson for the day. Hope you learned something. Hope you're inspired to get some delicious protein foods in your nutrition right now. Of course, all of the meal plans in Nerd Gym Secrets are going to be customized to you already with the right amount of protein, fat, carbohydrate, all that good stuff. But if you're going from scratch, just keep these points in mind as you are going on your adventure. And if you are having a difficult time getting the protein into your body, let me reassure you that you will adapt, you will get used to it, gradually increase your protein intake, and as your hormones balance out and as everything starts falling into place and your digestive system gets used to the additional protein, you will feel better, you will have better recovery from your workouts, you will be less prone to injury, you're going to have all of your systems, your tissues, even your brain function will be enhanced by getting enough protein. So do it up. If you're not yet a member of Nerd Gym and you happen to be watching this video on our YouTube channel, please do click like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and you can go ahead and become a member of the Nerd Gym and get access to weekly live classes, information like this, plus a lot more live nutrition classes, live exercise classes, tons of programs, support, accountability, all that good stuff, really fun challenges coming up. You can do that by going to www.patreon.com/thenerdgym, and I'll put the link in the description of this YouTube video. Go there, you can go ahead and sign up for any membership level, get access to weekly classes. This little presentation is the that I just did here in this video. We just did a live class on the same topic with a bunch of Q&A, which is why the slides are kind of sparse here. We did it as a Zoom call, so super easy, super fun. Get all of your nutrition questions answered, and join the Nerd Gym because it's awesome. All right, I will see you all on the next one. Have an awesome day. Thank you for watching, and yeah, there we go. Stop recording. Okay, bye, 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 bye.